Well, it must be the week of batteries here in the shop. As the owner of a 2015 Prius, I understand and I know the last thing every hybrid owner wants to hear is that their traction battery is bad. Well, I have replaced a Prius battery before a long time ago on my Gen 1 Prius. The owner of this 2011 Lexus RX450h was driving and their dash lit up like a Christmas tree, and there were a lot of faults on it, mostly hybrid drive warning faults on it. And I scanned the codes on there, and this is what we came up with. Code P0A80, which is replace hybrid battery pack. Now the good news is the car did drive just fine without the hybrid drive system on it. I think on this one it's just a rear wheel drive. It has the electric motor on it for all wheel drive capabilities. It's still front wheel drive off that V6 engine on there. AC still worked, everything else still worked, you just lose a hybrid part of it. And I did reset the code, and they've been driving it for a while with no failure codes coming back up again, but they want some peace of mind. Now, of course, as a hybrid owner, I almost always get the common response whenever I tell somebody that I own a hybrid is, man, those batteries are really expensive to replace. And of course, I always have to say, well, yeah, but they make it like 200,000 miles, so you got some time to save up for that, right? But if you notice, right on cue, 193,000 miles on the dash here. Now, it's been a number of years since we've done anything with hybrid batteries in the shop, and I thought it might be a fun video to share this with you because we're going to do something a little bit different. Well, I know and I accept that the OEM battery from Toyota is going to be the best way of doing this. That's going to be about $5,000 or $6,000 for the replacement battery and then the labor to replace it if the owner wants any sort of warranty on it. And that's not in the budget currently. Now, having replaced the traction battery on my Gen 1 Prius before, which is underneath the seat right there, and it's all one battery, I am pretty familiar with the available options on the battery pack replacement. You can take the battery out, charge up each cell, find which cell is bad, rebuild the battery, hope that another cell isn't bad, and repeat that for the next 30,000 miles until you finally get a replacement battery. Or you get a battery exchange with a hybrid company that actually does all that work in-house using replacement battery cells and builds you a new battery with usually about a 12,000 mile warranty on it. But that's only a couple $1,000s cheaper than a new battery anyways. So I would prefer not going the route of used battery cells or rebuilt battery packs. And if you do price out the individual nickel metal hydride battery cells for each one of the traction batteries, it's actually a lot more money to buy them cell by cell. To build an all new battery, then you might as well just buy the OEM battery to begin with. And unlike the Prius battery, the Lexus RX battery isn't just one battery. Well, it is one battery. There's 3 modules to it. With all my research, it seemed like the best option is to go OEM from Toyota or replace the modules within the battery pack itself with all new cells, same chemistry, but different design. And I found 2 shops in the US that do that, one in California and one in Florida. I'm in Arizona, which isn't that big of a deal because shipping is included in the price of the replacement pack. And spoiler alert, here are the 3 replacement modules we're going to do. Building the hybrid battery on this 2011 RX450h. And I've never done this before, so how hard could it be? Now, this is definitely not a sponsored video. The customer did have to pay out of pocket for all of this. They went with exclusively hybrid in Florida, and they sent these 3 modules. Like I said, there's 3 modules, hence the 3 boxes right here. So we still have to take the battery pack out, take it all apart, install the new modules, and then put it all back together again. Even though the original cells that Toyota normally uses are thin little rectangles, and these are cylindrical cells, these are still nickel metal hydride. So we haven't changed the chemistry or the charging performance of the battery. We're just going with a whole different style of battery cell itself. And by all accounts, because there is space in between all of this, these cool a lot better because Toyota only went with passive air cooling, which can be seen underneath the rear seats right through these vents right there. Just like a Prius, the battery pack is located underneath the seat right here, but unlike the Prius, there's basically a much bigger battery pack. Before I get started, I will answer the follow-up question. What do I do with the old battery modules? Well, you do pay a deposit when you purchase this from Exclusively Hybrid, that you will send them the old battery packs, because they will rebuild battery packs and send those out as rebuilt battery packs too. And once they receive that, you get your deposit back. So I don't get to keep the old cells. Not that I'd want them anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and unbox all of these just to see if there's any instructions. And looks like there might be. And it does look like there's a step-by-step process of how to replace that battery and the battery pack. So that'll be helpful. Now, the second question people might be having about this is, well, what kind of warranty does this come with? It's supposed to have a 48-month or 4-year warranty on it, which is pretty impressive. They've been putting these out for about 7 years, and I've read the reviews, and everybody that's had them had been pretty pleased with them with no real issues. Apparently, the biggest issue is damaging the wires as you're rebuilding the battery, so we'll try to not to do that. And why are we doing this on a 2011? Well, there's a lots of thoughts about everything. One is, this is a really clean vehicle that's been working very well. To replace it's going to be about $45,000 for a used vehicle. At least if you're looking at like a 2020 to 2023 RX450h. And to be completely honest, the customer doesn't have that kind of money. They're never going to find this nice car again. And speaking as a mechanic, I have a lot of concerns about everything that's been coming out after about 2021, even from Toyota. So let's see if we can't salvage this old and tired 2011 Lexus RX450h. Could be fun either way, right? All right, so really technically the first step is to disconnect the 12-volt battery in the back, but we want to make sure the passenger and driver seats are all in the forward position. The windows are down so I don't get stuck doing something, and the passenger and driver seats are electric, so if you lose the battery you won't have this function. It'll be frustrating. And when I say 12-volt battery, the dash and the engine still need to have a normal 12-volt battery on it, so the traction battery is just used to drive the wheels, part of the hybrid system. And this will be back here underneath the back deck, just like on a Prius. And there's the high quality 12-volt battery. I think a 10mm will do it. All right, point of no return right here. All right, so really the next step is just to get rid of all the stuff in the back, because we will have to take the back seats out. Now this is Mechanic 101 at this point, so you should be able to do this without me telling you how to do it. And from my experience, having everything out of the way is easier than trying to work around things. So we got a full-size spare, might as well get it out of the way too. Out. I need to take anything else back here apart. I don't think I have to take these off yet. We'll find out. But we can see underneath there that blower fan, because that's where the battery pack's going to be located. Alright, so we just fold this back here and reveal 12mm bolts. Oh yeah, lots of room back here. Now we can climb inside. Take off more of these pins. Alright, those probably broke. But that's why I bought this kit for like 20 bucks, so I don't have to worry about that. But I also brought a vacuum cleaner because I was pretty convinced I was going to have a lot of dirt underneath these seats. We'll switch to 10mm, get out these 2 bolts, 2, and then get those straps out of the way. All right, get everything off the floor here. What the heck? What has that been there? Put these back up again. Use a screwdriver and pop off all 4 of these covers down here. And then we need to take off the 3 vent covers, and each one has a little plug that you have to remove. I can do, I just use a screwdriver, little pick, open that up, that'll reveal the 10mm bolt right there. Now these will kind of illustrate where the 3 modules are in the battery pack, and by all accounts there's supposed to be a screen behind here or a filter that you're supposed to clean off to make sure it doesn't get full of lint, as one might imagine it would. See them there, they're not dirty, they're good. be next to the floor like this. That'll cause your battery to overheat. Then while we're down with the 10mm, we'll take out all 6 of these bolts too. That hold the assembly underneath together. Then we'll switch to a 14mm socket, and we'll undo these bolts that hold the seats on. There's 4 of those too. Then we'll start with the driver's side because it's the smaller one. Slide that forward. Crawl back here again. We'll take out those 2 bolts right there and the other one over there using an extension. Okay, and then with all those 3 out, the seat should be pretty loose, but there are wires and cables hooked up to it still because you can disconnect it or lower it from here. See, I assume this has something to do with a side curtain airbag in the back to squeeze. Pull back. The next one's going to be that cable system. Pull that clip off. Next step, slide this out of the clip down here. We're just going to basically pop off that end and then kind of flex off the bottom end, pop that part out, and then we can just slide that cable out, right? Don't lose any of these pieces though. It looks like that is captured there. We're good. All right, with all that disconnected, the seat should come free now. We just have to get it out of the way. And basically do the exact same thing with a little bit bigger seat over there. All right, just like that. It does seem like that one comes out easier from the driver's side door. All right, we'll see what kind of treasures we got under here. Not too much. Get all this cleared out again because we're going to take all these clips off. And we're going to get the carpet out of the way. All right, so the next step, which is of course what everybody really thought I probably should have done first, is to take the battery kill switch out. So we just killed that traction battery, so it is safe. Now, I guess I should remind everybody, this is high voltage DC current, and if you don't feel safe working around it, don't try to do this. Go ahead and take those off. Have to get this cover off. To get that cover off, we'll have to pull that off. Stick those pins off, pull that off. And now this whole thing should be loose. Of course, do the same thing over there. All right, then we'll just go ahead and flip that over, and there's the traction battery module. I mean, if it's not the original one, they sure kept it clean back here. Well, whether or not this is the original battery or a replacement battery that didn't last, we're in this far, right? Go ahead and pop that off. Just like that. Then you might want to label all of these. All right, with those labeled, let's go ahead and push it on the tab and disconnect all 4 cables up here. All right, we'll switch back to 10mm. Take this cap off. I guess it's a cover. Disconnect this little cable that tells the computer whether that plug's installed. Speaking of the shorting plug, if you look at the end of it right there, it's got a peg on it and a weird looking notch. It's almost like it's a tool that you can use to undo these, right? That means in order to take those off, you have to remove the shorting plug. It's kind of brilliant. And we'll go ahead and take this cover off. Ooh. High voltage contacts. Yeah, because I don't want everybody to freak out on me. We got that NDC voltage. I'll check across the contacts right there. And nothing. Now, I don't suspect, this is just me maybe going off the rails, that this entire battery pack has to come off in order to do this job. But I will go ahead and mark these cables right here. We'll disconnect the high voltage leads right there, this control lead to probably the contacts, and we'll start undoing all the bolts so I can at least get all the housings out. So far I've been reading the instructions right here, and I don't see a compelling argument to do this on a bench and then put the whole thing in when it's all heavy, especially if you're by yourself. It seems just as easy to do it inside the vehicle. But I do want to make sure underneath and there's no rust or water leakage underneath causing issues. because all this manual really says is how to install them, and to install them in this order: 3, 1, and then 2. Making sure you don't, short anything out. And because we don't want to cause damage to anything, we'll use a hand wrench or a hand ratchet. Right, those off, don't lose these. 10mm. Disconnect that and that. Alright, that's all disconnected. Now we'll go ahead, switch back to 12mm. Take all of these bolts off. These are actually what's mounting the battery. Do the same thing with these mounting bolts up here. It looks like we're switching back to 10mm for this body strap. I don't know. I guess there's wire in it. Get that out of the way. I'm going to need that flopping about as we got high voltage battery connections just free floating in here. I think the next step really would be to theoretically take the battery out. And let's see. Yeah, it's loose and it's heavy. So let's just go a little bit deeper here and rebuild the battery in place. Take off all of these covers here. All right, so the next step is actually take the cover off, but we have 2 more connections that are on the top of the case here, so we'll have to get those disconnected and out of the way. And I hope it goes without saying that once this cover's out of the way, that's the whole safety device. So if you don't feel safe, don't do this, because there is some danger associated with this. Here we can remove the cover, and there are the battery modules. All right, safety cover removed, and now we can see the individual cells right here. They're more rectangular and they're stacked together. You can see they don't have a lot of airflow around them, and I'm not seeing too many signs of water or anything to be that concerned about. And I don't see any obvious damage to the battery. I would be curious why it's missing at least 2 of those little rubber tops. Maybe they're on the, they fell off or something. I don't know. Huh, yeah, they probably just fell off. There's one right there. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so these are still nickel metal hydride batteries. We need to take the vent off of that. Look at that, that was simple. And the vent connecting that one, and then the vent connecting that one. But please, 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 please understand, this is a live battery, okay? Don't want to get crazy and leave tools laying around. But it is interesting. I don't see any vents that we're going to be connecting on this. And okay, that's interesting. So the next step for me, because I want this installed in a particular order, is to label the old modules so I know which one is which. So let's see. All right, I guess it's time to unbox these and see what we're working with. All right, well, there's a module number 1. Looks like it comes with hardware underneath it. And these should be live. There is no safety right here. So there's just a big high voltage battery. It's already been taped off, zip tied. We got a connection point right there. And that's already, yeah, so that's positive. So don't touch that against this over here. So it looks like we're gonna have to connect that connection to the cable that's already in the vehicle. And yeah, that's the other end of the negative. All right, guys, I labeled these wrong. So this is the correct route. I'm glad I looked at that. So this is not 2 over here. That is 1. That makes more sense. So that means this one is 3, but I think that one was 3 before, and that makes this one 2. Not 1. That's not the distribution box. That makes sense. That is the distribution box right there. Now this should make a little bit more sense. All right, I have set it up. It does not look like it's exactly plug and play. You will be having to use some of these bolts to bolt cables together, but it does look like most of the sense leads are going to be plug and play. So we do need to disconnect all of those that are going to the existing battery cells right here. Just label those, even though I don't think they're going to fit any other way. And then just disconnect those leads. Simple. All right, since we are off the map, so to say, it seems to me like this module is going to be the easiest one to take out first. We just have the sense leads disconnected. There's a battery lead right there to the distribution. We just go ahead and push that in, and now that's disconnected. Well, it may or may not be that important. I'm going to go ahead and wrap all the battery connections that I can with electrical tape, you know, just in case. It looks like we can just go ahead and lift this up and then slide it back. And now we can get access to that battery terminal right there. I don't know what size that is. Looked like maybe 8mm. Okay, battery cable there. Tape that one off. So I think on the battery, that's the negative one, so I did do that black. So this battery should be, or this cell should be disconnected. All right, this is all very sharp edges, so be careful. There's one. One down. Okay, so with that one out of the way, the next step is actually to disconnect some of these harnesses that are mounted to this pin and free up the harnesses that are in these clips down here, because it looks like that harness will actually be in the way of pulling out that cell. All right, have to get rid of this plug. That's part of that battery cell. Yeah, I probably could have used a socket, but I'm trying to keep much control over metal objects around here that I can. We'll disconnect that harness there. Run that back through over to that side too. So that's all loose. And we just have this one to disconnect from that chassis right there. Okay. Looks like we got this battery connection here. There we go. Looks like we can just pop up these covers on the battery terminal right there. The battery terminal on that side. Disconnect that battery cable, connecting the two. Looks like, I guess that means we can disconnect that battery cable and tape it off. And then while we're here, we'll cop off that cover and take off this battery cable. All right, I think with that taped off, the number 2 module is now disconnected and ready to be pulled out. But this cable actually just went to the shorting plug, or the jumper, that's been disabled anyway. So it looks like it goes from here back through that shorting plug to the contacts in that, back through this cable, which goes all the way to the other side. And this also has connection on top to let the computer know that this is actually installed. That's all that is. You have to make sure you don't rip that harness off when you do a module 3. So look at that. All 3 of them are out. I suppose it's probably really easy and light to lift this up and take a look underneath, and I don't see anything I need to worry about. So I'm going to put this back and rebuild this battery pack. So they did make sure they warned me when I asked how to do this, to make sure I don't damage any of the wires underneath. Of course, I don't really care about the old battery. On the new battery, I do. All right, let's see. what kind of voltage we got going on here first. So, all right, so I got the positive lead connected to the positive lead of the battery. We're on DC current. I'm just going to go ahead and probe through the electrical tape, and we're at 107 volts. That's the correct polarity. So let's just see if we're going to be the same over here. All right. Positive, and I guess that's a negative right there. 106. Okay. Now what I do see is those wires underneath. They said don't crush those. Okay, so we don't want to crush those. All right. But the rest of the harness already lines up to where it's supposed to be. Looks like I'll probably have to slide that clip off so that we can clip it on the new location. And then this is the sense lead that goes through right here to there. Same thing that's happening right there. It just goes through this over to this side here. So it looks like everything is pretty much lining up to where it's supposed to be, and I can see why they want number 3 in first. My suggestion would be this would be 1, and this one would be 3. I don't know why you'd start with 3 and number the system that way. That's weird. However, these instructions are a little bit hard to follow. It'd probably be better if I did read and understand Chinese better. So it looks to me, this is this tiny little battery cable lead, that's the positive, and it says to connect with original main positive and main negative ground. If we come over here, it's not zoomed in very well. It's very difficult to see, but it looks like they just unbolted this battery cable from the terminals of the cell there, and then that's what the hardware is for, is that you can bolt it together and then you have this end. I want to try something, go off the rails a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to avoid the warranty or not, but if I can just unbolt that right there and then bolt it on right there, and it's long enough to fit into the terminal, I like to eliminate as many battery cables as I can, and through bolt with a bunch of electrical tape wrapped around it seems like a really bad idea when it's encased in a sheet metal box. But either way, we're gonna have to take this one off, or you have to make your own battery cable. But that is, you know, this is where it could get very dangerous. Don't want to short those terminals together. I mean, even if this does work, I don't like having this much conductor exposing. So I'll put some heat shrink on it too. I don't know, maybe it's not necessary to do, but it's gonna be a little magical box under there that nobody will ever see again, and any connection that might be possible to get to it, I don't want to find out that I got to it. But I mean, to my eye, that looks like it's more than long enough from what the factory would have had. I mean, that seems much better to me. It definitely seems like that's about all they did with heat shrink on this side. Let's see if it fits. All right. And honestly, it looks like it's gonna fit. Let's find out. That fit. And it looks like the clearances are fine. I mean, that rubber nut sticks out further. Alright, I'm going to wrap that battery cable and that's harness through the cable clamp that existed right there. The instructions show it going underneath here, but I want to keep it away from the bolt that is going to be coming down from above. There we go. Just shows it kind of that way. And then we'll put this one back into the mount there. Snap. And then that was 3, and then 3 I guess goes right there. Over on this side I did already transfer that harness pin to snap into place there. And we'll connect that one there. All right, so one module's technically in. Now, I see no reason not to connect the main leads up to the inverter right now. I'm not trying to do it with all the modules and everything in the way. Seems a lot easier to me now. All right. And I'll get that plugged back in too while I'm at it. One thing you have to definitely be careful about is not crushing this battery cable. I'm still not a big fan of the lack of space right there. I might still slide a piece of plastic back there just to insulate it a little bit. All right, one module back in the box. All right, so I didn't understand the instructions very well. After you install number 3 battery, you go to number 1 battery. So we're not even going in order backwards. Go ahead and check our voltage on this one. And I don't think I can hack the battery cables this one. 107 volts. And then I guess for fun, we can go ahead and see what our battery voltage was on this cell. 106. We will need this battery lead, so I'll take that one off. Now I can say there's an awful lot more space to work with on this side, so maybe I shouldn't be too frustrated about a lot of electrical tape. But I feel like they could have come up with a better plan. Doesn't seem that difficult. Okay, I'm going to go off the rails a little bit. This tab is going to be unruly. I mean, I guess it would work. I just don't like having all that exposed contacts. So I can cut off that tab, drill a hole, get a heat shrink through the bolt. Should be a lot cleaner. Now this may be a modification nobody wants to do. Perfect. This does seem a little bit unpolished to me. But I guess if it works, it works. It's just a battery cable. I've done a lot worse on much bigger batteries. I'll slide that heat shrink over it. I will probably add some electrical tape over the top of that too. Now again, I probably don't need it, but why not put some loom on there as protection? I'm not a big fan of having a bolted connection like that. Now, when we put the next module in, we're going to have to hook up this long battery cable that goes all the way to the disconnect. And we're going to have to almost float the cell in here. And it's going to connect to this negative, or actually this is the positive, right? Yeah, this is the positive. We already checked that. So I might as well loosen this up. And then see if I can't put this in without causing problems. I think that was a good idea. There, look at that. Just have to connect that connection there. Out of there. Okay. All right, we'll get these tucked in right over there. They go through that harness clamp down there. All right, those are plugged in. Snap that cable back into there. Cut that routed through there. Snap that back into the snap right there, which means this cable should snap in there, and then this one, it's not hooked up yet, comes down over to here. Okay, just have to hook up the battery lead, and that should just click into place right there. And yeah, I don't know, that does look pretty good, I can't deny it. Has worked pretty well. All right, look at that. 2 modules down. So naturally the last one is number 2. I've also lost my diagonal cutter somewhere. Now from the looks of it, this might be the most difficult one because we are going to have to hook up a battery cable there and another bolt on over here. Basically I'll be doing it the exact same way that I did on the number 1. I'm going to float it up on that piece of foam. And then make all the connections at that point. Because this goes to... Oh, there's a connection right there. Okay. Back here. Just like that. Put our insulating cap back on. Now the next and last step is this battery cable that's going to here. Has to be pulled out, and we have to make that connection point right there. Guess I forgot to check the voltage on this one too. 106.7. So I think that was the same as the last one. This one is 107.2. All right, let's get this connected. So this does have threads on it, so you can just tighten it up into it. I can definitely say though, with all the engineering that obviously went into all of this, it seems like they could have done a little bit better job coming up with a little bit better plan for these battery cables. But you'd think they'd engineer this part a little bit better. So I'm going to put some loom over that too to protect everything. All right, I feel a little bit better about that. I just have to slide everything back in place, get the foam underneath. Well, I can't say that was the easiest one to put in. I am pleased with how the battery cable over here worked out. It is secured. They're secured there. And then that lines up. This one over here was actually kind of a shorty little guy. Thought I got that wrong. Well, connect this one down here. Should be underneath there. We don't want that rubbing on anything. I did add a piece of loom right there to protect it. I didn't really like it how they had that routed. Now before I put this one away, there's 10 cells that make up one module. And so if you're going to try to rebuild it, what you have to do is completely take this module apart, charge up each cell individually with the correct charger. Then you let it sit, and then you see if any of them drop, and then you check the voltages between all of them after a few days. And the ones that are really bad, those are the ones you replace. Then you have to put it all back together again, put the car all back together again, drive it, and then find out if you're good for another 5,000 miles or good for another 20,000 miles, or if you pull it all back out again because there's 2 more bad cells that you didn't know about. And that is how I got my first Prius, as the previous owner actually did that and got frustrated. Okay, and number 3, back in the box. All right, I think with that, everything's connected down here. Now I can put the cover back on and start putting this thing back together. Now it's time to put the battery back together. Everything in reverse, so not too much to see here. I can say it does look like everything lines up okay, even though the module is a little bit thicker there, but the instructions don't tell me what to do with the vent, so I'm just going to cram it back in there. Put everything back together, because all it basically says is connection everything, and you're good. But there's no vent on this one. Get all those mountains tightened up. Okay, now it's just time for assembly. Just the one thing you don't want to forget is to put these back in before you put the carpet on. And yes, two of these are the same. CD goes in the middle. All right, so got all those started. The seats are now connected, and I really feel bad. The engineer did a great job designing those quick linkages, but man, they kicked my butt pretty hard. You will want a pair of needle knives to put those back together. Before we hook up the battery, I do need to make sure I don't put a fault in. So we'll put this back in. Now, luckily, it can only go in one way. Forget to push it all the way over too. Otherwise, it'll read a fault. Probably don't have to take the spare tire out if you don't want to, but I found it to be a lot easier. All right. Okay. Hopefully this works. Tilt that back a little bit for now. Okay. Foot on the brake. System loading, do not turn off the power. All right, because right now I'm seeing a lot of things I don't want to see. Lexus. Okay. There we go. Ready. Everything seems to be working. That's kind of relief. There's nothing on the dash. No check engine light. We just have the doors open and the back is open. Well, the door is open and the back is open. So let me go ahead and put everything back together the rest of the way, because I didn't want to do that until I knew it wasn't have to tear apart again. Put these back on. And yes, I don't know what I did with my 10mm 3/8. Definitely put these back on now. Okay. And the car has been running this whole time. Well, I can assure you, a real Toyota tech would have done this a lot faster. I am nowhere near close to competency. I have no training in Toyotas. But hopefully we have demystified hybrid batteries a little bit more. I know a lot of people are very concerned about safety in all of them. Now, if you have a 2011 RX450h from Lexus with a hybrid battery problem, you should know how to rebuild the battery safely. Or if you order batteries from, I think it's exclusively hybrid, you'll know how to change out the modules. The instructions aren't very good. I modified them a little bit. Maybe that wasn't a good thing. I can't say, like some other channels, that you're going to get better performance or better mileage. But if the battery was going bad, there's a good chance that the mileage was getting bad anyways. I will check back with the owner of this Lexus and see how it holds up after a few months. Hopefully everything's good. Hopefully the mileage goes up, but I can't say that it will. Like I said, I think it's a 4-year warranty on the battery, but I don't ever want to take that battery out again, which is why I didn't want to do a refurbished battery or just change out cells like a lot of people would probably tell you to do. I made quite the mess over here, but you can see you can even do it in a pile of rocks. And the next thing I have to do is ship those back for the customer to make sure they get their, I think it's like $500, maybe it's $900. I don't remember how much the core charge is, but you do want to make sure you get your money back on that one too. At any rate, guys, there you go. Hybrid battery module replacement with a little bit of modification. I have a lot to clean up today. I'm a little bit tired. I hope that helped out somebody down the road. If not, me down the road if I ever have to do this again. We haven't done a hybrid battery together in a very long time. And the last time we did one, I don't think we finished up because the entire car was bad and it killed the battery very, very quickly. And I think they actually had to scrap that car. Be careful at the auction if you buy a hybrid Kia or Hyundai. might have a bad traction battery in it. And I'll put a link to that video. It was like 6 years ago. I almost forgot all about it. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. Bye. So we come over here. Let's see. This is supposed to be module 1, right? All right, we think that's positive and goes straight over into here. Or is that negative? It looks like that's probably negative. Goes straight into over here. Okay.